We've said it a million times, SEO is evolving with the developments in AI. It's changing in the shifting landscape of where we compete, but it's also changing how we do our work and the tactics that we use. According to SEMrush's 2024 AI Content Marketing Report for SMBs, 65% of companies achieved better SEO results thanks to AI. Yet in today's world, the narrative has been all doom and gloom, and today we're here to balance the narrative and talk a little bit more about what to look forward to in search. This is the Voice of Search podcast. My name's Tyson, and joining us today is Jade Pruett, CEO of Hello SEO. Hello SEO helps influential B2B brands succeed in organic and AI search through transparent SEO strategies. Today, Jade will share her experience within SEO to give us a little more optimism as we go into where SEO is going. Jade, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here.
I mean, we had a little back and forth on scheduling, so I'm glad we finally got the chance to sit down and chat. As we were talking, though, before we started recording, it's like, I feel like there's a lot of kind of fear and anxiety that's going around in the industry right now. And I felt like one of the refreshing things that kind of came through in just our introduction was, more of a sense of like optimism of what's to come rather than this kind of fear anxiety state. So to first level set with the listeners, how are you looking to the future of kind of search?
Yeah. To back up, I founded my business in 2020 and then ran it as a side hustle until October of 2022. And when I took that big leap, it was terrifying. And then, of course, ChatGPT comes out 3 weeks later. And I was like, great, SEO is officially dead. What is this going to look like? And someone gave me the advice to always stay curious and move forward, as opposed to panicking, resting on your laurels, or just trying to do exactly what you've been doing for years while you slowly become less and less relevant. And that has seriously propelled me forward from then. And I feel like we all have this coin, and on one side is anxiety and the other side is excitement. And sometimes I have to mentally just flip that coin back to excitement in my head, especially when it comes to AI and SEO, because it truly feels like everything is changing. And I honestly thought I had more time. I was like, I'm going to keep my eye on this. I'm going to keep reading about it. But really, Google SEO is still, where we're at. And then April 1st rolled around and I was doing reports for all of my clients, and 25% of them were getting leads, closed leads. They were making money from people who came in from AI. And I was like, where is this coming from? And it's across industry. It was co-working spaces, local businesses, travel businesses, my own business. And it was mind-blowing, and was like, okay, it's here. We have to actually focus on this now.
Which I love that you kind of leaned in on the curiosity piece. I mean, whoever that was sounds like great advice.
Yes.
But for me, it's I was in a conversation just the other day, and I was like, probably one of the characteristics that I think is most universal across good SEO, from just a personality type, is curiosity. And some of this, fear that exists in the industry is to be honest, it confuses me a little bit, because as an industry, none of us went to school for this. So we all fell into it from one place or another. We've always had to adopt and change and allow that progression. So it's curiosity feels like an inherent strength of our industry as a whole. But yet it's everyone's again, has this fear and timidness. But it's if I compare our industry to other marketing industries, we are, from a skill set standpoint, I feel like we are way more poised to take advantage of it rather than to be made irrelevant.
Absolutely.
Am I off on that? How do you kind of weigh in?
I don't think so. And if you're really in the weeds of SEO every day, you have such a diverse skill set. you have a technical background, but you're also creating written content, and then you're doing backlink acquisition. So you have to be social at the same time. Like there's so many different things that are happening. If SEO did die tomorrow somehow, I think we would all actually be okay as long as we are able to move forward. But also, I don't think it's going to die tomorrow.
Which is true. And like to me, it's just like it's broadening, and I don't know. I feel like there's going to be more verticalization. Like that's not quite there yet, but I think we're going to like kind of get to that point. Like, how do you see maybe like with your clients, like how are you looking at, you know, I mean, you made the call out of, hey, you saw actually closed leads come through AI search. Like, how are you viewing kind of like, I don't know, would you view them as like separate channels within search? Like, how are you viewing kind of like these two different areas that we're competing in?
So, what's really interesting, and of course, we're still figuring out what the ranking factors are, and they're going to be changing just as quickly as Google changes as well. But what's really interesting is we're seeing that the ranking factors for showing up in AI are virtually the opposite of what we've been prioritizing with traditional Google search. So schema is back. I've been in the industry for 10 years, have really never cared that much about schema. My my days of optimizing meta descriptions, I thought those were way behind me, and that seems to be back. Bing might be back. We might be, getting into Bing webmaster tools, which I just like logged into for the first time in my entire life a few weeks ago. So it's definitely diversifying the way that we're building SEO strategies for clients, which is really cool. At the moment, they do kind of feel like different worlds with like a lot of overlap. Even the way that I have to report on AI visibility feels like it's this whole separate thing as opposed to, just jumping into Google Analytics and Google Search Console and sharing my screen with clients. It's just what I typically do. So it's giving us a lot more to learn at the moment. But I think it's going to be incredible for our clients. And I think this is just the beginning of a new chapter of SEO as a whole.
I completely agree with that. And I think like the reporting and measurement is an area that I think is interesting because it's like, yeah, you do have kind of this like mystery element where we're getting data and information on some kind of like best practices or commonalities. And it feels a little bit like, I don't know, old days SEO in some ways, where it's like when we're looking at kind of like ranking factors reports and things like that. But a piece that I'm kind of like go back and forth with is like the amount of variance that exists today. Like, I feel like before, yeah, you had some of that within Google, and you could always say that that was a case with like different like rank tracking tools where it's like, yeah, but where is someone located? What was their past browsing history? Are they logged in? Are they not? And so you had some variance, but I feel like it was still like kind of representative to it with kind of like, I don't know, the longer context windows within some of AI search, the personalization potential, which I think exists today, but I feel like it's going to be progressing more. It feels also like there's a challenge in that like measurement and reporting side too.
Definitely. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like the days of being like, you're ranked in the second position have been gone for a little while. They're like kind of half here still, but I'll have clients who are getting clicks, even though the reporting says they're in the 42nd position for a term. And of course, like, where they are locally and all that kind of stuff always is a part of it. But now that we're moving into AI search, yeah, like ChatGPT or whichever LLM it is going to know that person so well that it's not like, oh, you're, ranking for this particular query people are putting in, all of the time. And that's kind of what you can like report on. I like what Scrunch AI is doing. I've become like a secret influencer for them. But they tell you on a percentage basis how often you're showing up in a query similar to one that aligns with your target audience. So you kind of get like a snapshot, which I think is honestly like a more honest way of presenting that anyway. Because even in Google search, it's not like you're showing up exactly the same every single time either.
I actually really like that it's like audience-based similar queries, because if you're limited to just that exact prompt and like response, then I think it's like so subjective to it. But so I think like that, like, I don't know, normalization. But I mean, even within Google, like AIO, they're not using just the ranking domains for that specific question or query. Where, I mean, it was a meetup group in Bay Area Search like a little while back with Danny Sullivan, and he was straight up said, he's like, yeah, no, like we're using similar related searches to populate Google AIO rather than just that one specific query. So it's like, even within that, then you're like, okay, well, what am I measuring to? And I had a debate recently with a friend, and I was kind of saying too, it's like, predominantly from my perspective, you have two main benefits of like the more traditional performance tracking. You have competitor intelligence as far as understanding what a competitor might be doing, where they're strong, where you're weak. Like, so it's like that external view that you're not going to get through GSC or something else. And then honestly too, it's like, it's internal management. It's like stakeholder management within the organization, managing performance, things like that. But I feel like maybe too often we're getting focused on like those metrics rather than like what actions we're going to be taking to actually make a difference. Like you called out schema markup and some of these like, I don't know, I want to call them like complete legacy factors, but it's like the resurgence of some of the older SEO factors. And so instead of focusing on that, we're focusing on like a keyword position, which seems a bit off to me.
Yes, and a lot of that is from how we have trained our users to interact with us in a way, like our clients. Most of my clients still want like a blog a month, and they want to see that they're ranking number one for these like particular things. And it's kind of like we need to re-educate them on what's really going to matter moving forward. And I think we would all agree it doesn't really matter, you know, if Ahrefs says you're ranking in the like 60th position if the revenue's coming in. So I think it's going to challenge us to report better, but I think it's going to make us better marketers overall.
No, maybe like expanding on, you know, how you're working with clients. Have you felt like more of the recent change or how you're looking forward is on the prioritization of activities, or are you completely shifting like your strategy and approach with your clients?
At the moment, I'm not particularly shifting everything at once. Google still holds, what, 89% of the market share? Like, that's still incredibly important to everyone. But we're kind of, you know, yes-anding and adding some more things on. So for my clients who are up for it, we're getting them into Scrunch AI again. I need to get an affiliate link from them. And then
yeah, shout out Scrunch, get an affiliate link to Jade. She's preaching the gospel here.
Oh my gosh. But then we're optimizing for schema. We're, you know, following the trends. My clients know we're a scrappy team and we are going to be optimizing them as we're learning new things. So most of my clients are up for some experimentation, which I really appreciate. I'm lucky to work with small enough businesses that I'm, you know, directly in contact with the CMO, if not, you know, the founder of the company. And they're always down to try new things as long as you can kind of back it up with a little bit of data.
Fair. And then looking ahead a bit more on kind of like the future aspect, like how do you see, like I kind of framed up in the intro, it's like, in my mind, you have the landscape shifts of where are we competing or changes within the SERPs themselves, as well as like the tactics that we're taking, whether it's leveraging AI for certain, I don't know, initiatives, tasks, or even like the prioritization and the call outs that you mentioned, like schema markup or backlinks or whatever it is. Like, how are you looking ahead? And like, and I guess too, like a secondary question to that is like, what's giving you that confidence and optimism of the health of like the practice in the industry?
Yeah, so I just got back from SEO week, which was a roller coaster of an event. Every speaker had a different opinion, and I don't think any of them were particularly wrong. But sitting there, it's like, oh my gosh, is SEO dead? Oh, SEO is thriving. And then we're back to it being dead. And I kept having to just step outside and process what I was learning. But when I actually did have time to sit down and really think about it, there's so many like good little nuggets that came out of that experience. And one came from Will Reynolds, which gave me a lot of hope. And that is that AI, first of all, there's so many different LLMs at the moment. We don't have a monopoly in search anymore. I mean, we basically still do, but it seems like it's starting to diversify, thankfully. And they hold each other accountable. So there was an instance where ChatGPT really wanted to keep something to itself, but then DeepSeek is like, no, I'm going to go share all that information with everyone. And so then ChatGPT has to follow up and share that information as well. And for the past 15 years, we've just, Google's been able to do whatever they want and we just have to respond. And now there's a conversation happening between these large search engines. So that's super exciting. But also, I think the days of just the massive companies just occupying a query forever are over. The ways that these LLMs are serving up results are very different, and they're going to serve small businesses and startups better. And Will Reynolds, again, used the illustration of what happens when you Google ethical jeans. And when you Google it, you get Banana Republic, because they've shoved a bunch of like ethical gene keywords at the bottom of a page. They've been around for 1,000,000 years. They have an incredible domain authority. Of course, they're just going to rank immediately for that keyword. But then if you go into ChatGPT, you get this small business called Nudies that literally will not make a pair of jeans unless they have to. Like they would rather repair jeans and actually be the most ethical company they can be in that space. Like they're actually practicing what they preach. It's not just like, oh, we're ethical because we use cotton. I don't know. So I think that these brands that really care about what they're doing are finally going to get that recognition within search. Oh, and Nudies is ranking, I think, like 64th in Google. So they're like not getting anything from the ethical jeans keyword there.
Which I think, that in itself brings a ton of optimism into this. Because like so much of the narrative within, or like, I don't know, criticism towards Google, it's like, yeah, you have the zero search that's happening. Rand's been doing a great job kind of putting a lot of information out on this. And it's like, technically speaking, Google is still sending more and more referral traffic because of so much users and so much activities. It doesn't mean the percentage has always been the same, but it's like, if you look in the absolute numbers, but then it's like where it's going has gone more and more to the bigger brands. And I think like, there's this chicken or the egg bias of that where, I don't know, maybe I'm just too optimistic in some ways. But with that, it's like, okay, like Google probably didn't intend for that to happen, but maybe through some of the metrics within like nav boost and like kind of more of like some general human nature elements where if someone's familiar with a brand, they're probably more likely to click on that. So if you're rewarding a high click-through rate, the bigger brands will naturally start surfacing up more and more. Then you get into a higher position and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's like, to me, it's like a little bit of a fracture in that traditional search piece. And so like these points that then you're bringing up, to me, especially if I'm a smaller business, should be a lot of hope and a lot of like, hey, there's ways of taking down the Goliath because we know our practice. We can, and Will's example, like if you are passionate about sustainable jeans, you can be the leader in that space, regardless if you don't have kind of the domain authority, the engagement metrics that maybe the big players do because of it. And so like, I also share that optimism that maybe like through this competition, we're going to see like more opportunities for competition in different ways. And I think, the bigger players will always have a leg up from budgets and practices, but the smaller players can always be faster, more reactive. Like you can out pivot these larger brands.
Totally.
And so I think like that's a huge piece that also like comes into like the practice of SEOs. Like we have always been these kind of underdogs that are able to pivot, adapt, and like evolve through that. So I think like as an industry, we should be more excited of the like opportunity that it's bringing rather than fearful of it taking it away.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. And also, it's Google. So they have to serve the masses. So, of course, they have to choose a brand that's going to work for the most people to rank number one for ethical jeans, I suppose, like Banana Republic. But with the LLMs, they're getting to know the user so well and understand like the types of businesses they like to shop at and, more things about them as an individual. And they can make those choices of who they're going to serve up because of that too. So understanding the user very, very well, I think is going to be a massive part of SEO in the future. It should have been all along, but there's always been some hacks to get around that. But yeah.
True. Yeah, no, that is a good call out that for years we've been saying in SEO, like follow, and I mean, even Google's been saying it of like, go after the user. And it's like, I don't know, I grew up playing ice hockey, so I like throwing in, the Wayne Gretzky quote. It's not, go where the puck's going and like that. And so we've always said this around the user. Yet at the end of the day, we tend to kind of like, I don't know, forget it in some ways. And
Right.
It is refreshing that it's like, yeah, there is a revitalization on that front.
Definitely. I was also thinking for myself, and the way that ChatGPT has gotten to know me, I asked it the other day, like, oh, should I try out this specific SEO tool? And it knows my business, for better or worse. And it was like, oh, like that one might be okay, but like you do a lot of content heavy work. So like maybe try these other ones. And it like made me a graph of like why I should try these different tools. And that was the moment I realized how much I trust ChatGPT to know me and what I'm doing, because I immediately booked demo calls with the three companies that it mentioned. And if I just, Googled something, I probably would have just read a bunch on their website and been like, I don't know if these are for me, or I would have looked at the price too soon or something like that. But I think the user is going to grow to really trust these LLMs. And, there's pros and cons to that. But from an SEO perspective and just, purchasing things perspective, I think it's going to be pretty cool and really good for these small businesses.
100%. And yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna lie, there's elements of it that's like a little creepy and like, okay, like, yeah, then there really is a lot of information on all of us, but like at the same time, to your points, like there's an advantage to that too. So it's like, I think there's always two sides of the coin. There's a glass half full, glass half empty. And so it's refreshing to hit on some of these kind of opportunity sides rather than the more kind of doom and gloom aspects of it. But with that, we're going to roll into the kind of final segment of it. So this is like our lightning round where I'm going to throw a couple of like more of short form questions at you. Each one will have its own theme and we can kind of riff on it, but we'll go through like these 5 questions. So the first one, buy or sell? Buying or selling, schema markup will increase in importance in the coming year.
I'm buying it. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's like a layer of code that makes it easier for these LLMs to read what your page is about. And it also saves time and energy for them, which is very important for everyone. So I'm buying it.
I completely agree. And my apologies for whoever it was, but I was at Brighton just a couple months ago in the UK, and someone was presenting and they were like making this call out that LLMs are lazy. Mm-hmm. And it was like, then these are the examples. I was like, you know what, like they really are, right? Like it is pretty lazy if you kind of break things down. So I think schema markup fits exactly within that. And it's like such a controllable thing that we can do as SEOs. So I think that's a great call out. Next one, game plan. You're the SEO director at an enterprise e-commerce company, and you've been asked by the executive team for your strategy in AI search. So I know that's a very broad, like wide range question, but more of kind of what is your elevator pitch to give the confidence to the executive of we're aware of this and we're on top of it.
Yeah, I would say let's start presenting data as quickly as possible, whether that's through Scrunch AI or some other sort of means, to see how they're showing up now and then go from there. I think with AI search optimization, whatever we decide to call it, we have to be a bit reactive as we're starting off and then move from there as we can as we learn more and can really build a strategy.
Next one. Trend or trash. Using AI to generate meta descriptions at scale. Trend or trash.
I really like it. I think it's a trend. I think it's good. I think that you have to do it in a smart way. Provide some keywords. Provide some more references. Don't just say, "Hey, write a meta description for this," and put it into Sheets. But I don't see why not.
I'm also a fan of it. Like, to me, it's like one of the easiest low risk areas to apply it. It's like you have an entire article to give context to whatever AI system you're using. You can give highlight, call to action, whatever with it. So yeah, I think especially if you're nervous around using like generative AI in content creation, it's a great kind of entry point to that as well. Next one, crystal ball. Tell me how you predict AI search evolving through the end of the year.
That's a great question. I think we're going to see more people adapting to it, and we're also going to see an influx of new tools to allow us to track. I would love some sort of webmaster tools within the LLMs. I don't know if they'll give that to us. And also some sort of keyword research type tool. It's obviously going to have to be a lot more nuanced, but something to allow us to like do that information on the front end or do that research would be awesome.
I like that. And I mean, I don't know, maybe this is now being pessimistic. I don't expect Google to do that until maybe they're like forced to or they have to. So like Bing, this is a plead to you. Like if you want to win over the hearts of the SEO community, bring in this element to being webmasters. I think you make a huge amount of friends within the industry if you were the first to do that.
Yes, it's so funny. I'm so not worried about Google. I didn't even think about them. I was thinking about Bing or OpenAI just making its own for fun.
Which I mean, I don't know. Probably like strategically, it would be a great move for them because it's like, I don't know, they can play on that kind of like building demand, and I feel like Google would if they were forced to, but it's like, I don't see them being the first to, but I don't know, that could be a complete, personal gut instinct.
Right.
But yeah, that's would just be my prediction for what it's worth. All right, last one, toss up. Would you choose to invest in more technical SEO improvements or content quality upgrades if you had a limited budget in 2026? Now, I know this question, we don't know the starting point of this website, so let's just make the assumption middle of the road, no crazy debt on one side or the other, but with like a level playing field. What would your opinion be?
Oh man, until you said that, the answer was tech, because sometimes these pages aren't even showing up in Google or anywhere else. So optimizing for better content isn't going to move the needle at all. But if everything's fine-ish, I would say improving the content.
That's a good call too. I think, it all starts with like indexation health and that like fundamental aspect. And it is true that I think it's like overlooked, unfortunately, too often. Maybe you get a little more recognition in the enterprise, but like especially in the smaller like SMBs, like it's I think oftentimes overlooked. So yeah, that's a great call out.
I worked with a luxury shirt designer last year, and during our initial audit, we found out her homepage was blocked by robots text. And it was literally like, if we did not see that, nothing we would have ever done would have mattered. And ever since that particular moment, tech has always been a huge priority.
Yeah, it's like, it's the foundation where it's like, it doesn't matter how, nice of an interior you have to the house, but it's like, if that foundation is flawed, it's going to be short-lived at best, any of the nice kind of furnishings that you might add to it. All right, so that's all for today. Thanks for stopping by the Voice of Search podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.